guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to build in the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds. I'm going to be building a big fun family home. So I'm sure some of you are aware by now, but if you are not, and just in case you missed it, we were supposed to have the release of the next game pack be yesterday on Thursday, which was going to be the Sims wedding stuff, the Sims 4 My Wedding Stories. But luckily enough, they're delaying it a week, and it's quite lucky in a sense because I didn't actually announce it anywhere, but I wasn't going to be doing a video using any of the new stuff from the game pack because there's a whole lot of information, and to be honest, I'm not fully educated on it to tell everyone the whole situation myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave an article to the Sims community. They're so knowledgeable on it and they just explain it really well. But long story short, for some reason, well, I say for some reason, there is some reasons, but I'm not going to go into it. You can read the article if you want to. But The Sims wasn't going to release the next game pack in Russia, which is just unfair. Like, there's no other words for it really, but it's just really unfair. And due to that, I wasn't going to be posting a video using any of the new stuff because I wasn't going to be buying it. But now they have delayed the new game pack to come out next week. And I've heard through the grapevine that it's meant to be 23rd. I've heard anyway. I haven't seen that officially announced by the Sims or any of the Sim gurus, but a lot of people have been saying that it's coming out next Wednesday. So if you're looking forward to it, then it should be coming out next Wednesday, I think anyway. I really should have checked that before I started this voiceover, shouldn't I? But besides the point, it's been delayed a week, and either way, I was going to be building this house for you guys anyway. I love the way this house turned out so much. I had so much fun building this house, and the interior is possibly one of my favourite that I've ever done. Which is saying something because I've done quite a lot of interiors before in the past, but I just had so much fun. And do you know what? When I started building this, I wasn't intentionally going to make it for my save file. I just wanted to build something big, something fun, just filled with loads of different things for family gameplay. And it got to the end and I was looking at it and I was thinking, do you know what? It would actually be rude if I didn't include this in my save because I love it too much. And so this is going to be for my save file as well. Now, I haven't got too much of an in-depth storyline for the Sims that are going to be living here. It's just kind of like one of them ordinary standard. I feel like everyone's played through this kind of storyline before in the past storylines, if you know what I mean. But I'll talk about that in just a second. But currently I just want to talk about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, the main structure of the build came together quite quickly. Do you know what? It actually took me a surprisingly short amount of time. I said that in a really weird way, but it didn't take me that long to build this. It only took me, I think it was 4 hours 45 minutes roughly of footage that wasn't sped up. So I think this is quite good going. It's built on a 40 by 30 and it has 5 bedrooms and I think 5 bathrooms as well. I just closed my eyes trying to imagine the floor plan, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that is correct. So there is 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. Upstairs, pretty much all the bedrooms but one have their own ensuite, and the one bedroom that doesn't have an ensuite, the bathroom is directly next to it. And then downstairs, the bedroom and the bathroom are quite far away from each other, but the downstairs one is a half bathroom. It's got like a utility room, washing machine, tumble dryer, hoover, vacuum, whatever you want to call it. Just the standard little laundry realistic things that I like to add into my build that is downstairs. But yeah, I had so much fun building it, honestly. Like I said, this interior is one of my favourites that I've ever done, and it's very lightly decorated. So I tried to use a lot of light blues. I tried to focus on using lighter woods and maybe white woods and some yellows here and there and some pastel colours. I had a lot of fun. And another thing that I really enjoyed building in this house is this little thing. I don't even know what to call it because normally I would call it a tree house, but there is no tree attached to it, so it's just a house on stilts basically. I was going to make it into a tree house, but then I didn't want the horrible shadow over the majority of the garden because I have built a few different houses in the past using tree houses. I'm pretty sure I've built one just standard family home, and then I've built a base game family home as well with a tree house. I wanted to do something similar to that, but I didn't want to necessarily have a tree house because before in the past when I've done it, I find that the tree just has a massive shadow over the garden, and I didn't want that to be the case. So it ends up just being pretty much a small miniature house on stilts, but I mean, it looks really fun. I tried to make it look like there was a slide. So what I basically did is I got I don't even know, this is the thing, and I really should know it. I don't know the names of the different roofs in the game, but the one that's just kind of do you know what? I'm doing hand movements, you can't see me. I feel like you probably know which roof piece it is by looking at it, but basically, long story short, I got a piece of roof and then I made it so it was one tile wide, and then I basically extended the eaves going from top to bottom by pulling up one side, which, if you want to know how to do that, to pull the eaves so only one side will pull out, you press shift when you drag it, and then the side that you're dragging will move, whereas the other eaves on like the other side won't move. Hopefully that's easy to follow along with. But I basically did that, and then using a little roofing trick, which is if you press shift control C, I believe it is off memory. I'm trying to picture myself. I say I'm trying to picture myself. I've got my hand hovering over my keyboard trying to remember the movements because I just do it on autopilot at this point. But basically, if you press shift control C on any piece of roof, then you'll notice then you'll get more roof things to play about with, because you know sometimes you can make it go a little bit like fancy and curve it in certain ways and like pull the angles in and out of the roof. To get even more of that, you press shift control C, then more little movement bubbles, I think they're called, will come up, and I basically did that and just curved it in a way so it looks like a slide. And then I used a roof like texture pattern, which is from Eco Lifestyle. I was really tempted, and to be honest with you, I might still change it, but I was tempted to change the roof like colour pattern thing on the slide to a more vibrant, playful colour, because the roof pattern that I've used, the one from Eco Lifestyle, there is tons of playful colours. There's bright reds, there's bright yellows, there's, you know, like green swatches, very vibrant colours, and colours that you would find on like a piece of playground equipment. But I didn't do it initially because I basically didn't want slide to stick out like a sore thumb, because I feel like with the roof pattern being black, it kind of blends in nicely. And I feel like when you look at the house, it's not until you actually try and like investigate it that you're like, oh, there's kind of like a slide in the back garden. I didn't want it to stick out like a sore thumb, but I might possibly change it. I'm yet to come in and take the screenshots, so who knows, it might be different in the screenshots. But anyway, moving on from that and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, quickly actually, I've got to mention it. I'm really sorry if you can hear anything in the background. Don't know what's going on at the minute. There's currently a storm in the UK, and to say it's very windy is an understatement. I'm really hoping my microphone's not going to be able to pick it up, but if you can hear any sort of background noise in any sort, that's what it is. Currently, as I'm literally saying the sentence right now, it's quite heavy. It keeps on coming over in waves as well, but it's like the wind's like 40-50 miles per hour, which I know in some places in the world might be like your average, your daily, but honestly, there's like wheelie bins float, not around by me, I've seen it on the news. I mean, I probably wouldn't be sitting down doing a voiceover if there was wheelie bins flying about, but there is wheelie bins being flying about. There has been like trampolines getting on the motorways. It is just extremely windy, and I was really worried, if I'm being honest, to sit down and do this voiceover just because of how windy and how much background noise. Earlier, I was watching Plumbilla's video, you know, the review of the game pack. I don't know why I think like that, but I was watching her review of it, and I had to keep on turning them up because the wind was so loud. So yeah, apologies if you can hear anything in the background. Like I said, just to say it's windy would be a complete understatement. But anyway, getting on and finally moving on and talking about the family that's going to be living in this house, my save file. So like I said, the family is quite, or the storyline that I have is quite basic. I feel like it's been done a million times, but I do love a good old happy family storyline. So the household consists of 2 parents, a teenager, a child, and then a toddler. And there is also a spare bedroom downstairs, which you could make into a grandparent's room or maybe like a butler's quarter. I personally don't see this family to have a butler. I imagine that one of the parents is going to be a stay-at-home parent, and so they're going to be the ones that kind of pick up after everyone, does all the cooking, the cleaning, the ironing, even though that's not a thing. I would love, I would absolutely love if your Sims could just pull out a little ironing board, a little iron. Honestly, I would love that to pieces. And I also saw someone, I think it was Miss Griffey, tweeted the other day that they would love to have lawnmowers in The Sims 4. Do you know what? Me too. I love the really boring stuff in the game. I'm always down for more household chores, and especially chores that I can assign my teenagers and my children of the household, just to kind of maybe give them a little bit of pocket money, or, you know, so they can go out the weekend with their friends. Give me things that are really boring in real life in the game, because I just really enjoy that kind of stuff. But I imagine that one of their parents, I was personally thinking that the parents were going to be a mum, a dad, and then all the children were going to be girls. It goes without saying you can have any kind of Sims living in this house, and you can have any kind of parents and whatnot. It was just kind of what I was imagining. But I was trying to think that the mother of the household would be someone kind of based off the film. Do you know A Simple Favour? It's got Blake Lively in it and Anna Kendrick. Or Kendrickson. I think it's Anna Kendrick. Either way, it's a really good film. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. I don't know where you can watch it, but either way, it's a really good film. But in the film, basically, Anna Kendrick is a really active member of her little boy's school. She's someone that's always part of the community, like always baking stuff, and she's got like this little blog, and it's really cute. I was pretending, or like I was basing the mum in the household like Anna Kendrick in that film, if you know what I'm talking about. Basically just someone that's really active and a bit of like a soccer mum-ish kind of thing. Always does like the school bake sales, always helping out at like soccer practice, probably helps out of carpool. Pretty much ever since I saw that film for the first time, I knew that in my save file somewhere I wanted to have a club for parents like that, you know, the ones that are really active in their children's school life and really active in bake sales and carpool and soccer practices and stuff like that. I've always known that I was going to have a group of parents in a club from Get Together, you know, the club system. I knew that I was going to have one. I don't know what it's going to be called, maybe like soccer mums or something, but I don't imagine them to be soccer mums. I imagine them to be wholesome, always donate to charity, always doing like boot sales and helping out the community, like just all round really wholesome Sims. I'm gonna have a group of them, of parents, in my save file somewhere, and I've been thinking, who should I, like, what kind of Sim in what house within the worlds should I make be like the leader of the club? And possibly it could end up being the mother of this household. But yeah, that was just kind of like the idea that I had for the mum. Now moving on and talking about the dad, I imagine that the dad was probably going to be either a policeman or just someone in like a business career. But I do like the idea of them being a policeman, and then it kind of gives the idea in my mind that, you know, in some of the films when you do have them stereotypical soccer mums, and some of them are a little bit more, I'm gonna say the word feisty, but hopefully you know what I mean. You know, sometimes when you just have them characters in either a TV show or a film, and they are like the stereotypical like soccer mum, or they help out with their school when they've what film was it, Bad Mums, you know, with Mila Kunis in it. Why am I referencing so many films? I do watch a lot of films in all fairness, but you know, in Bad Mums, and you've got the three mums that are kind of like a little bit more feisty than Mila Kunis in the film. Often I find that their partner is going to be someone of some sort of authority, whether it be quite high up in their business career or quite someone with some kind of voice that people will listen to. And so I imagine that maybe actually I might make it so the father of this household is going to be a policeman, because then it kind of makes sense why the mother of the household is going to be the leader of the club. It just, do you know what, that just went together like a puzzle. Yeah, I'm sticking with that idea. I really like that idea. But yeah, that was the idea that I had for both of the parents. In terms of children, I will talk about them a little bit more when I move on and start furnishing their individual rooms, because as you can see, I've already moved on into the inside of this house. I've already done the kitchen, the hallway, the dining room, and I'm currently just focusing on this little like study area in the back corner. And I don't want to talk over it too much whilst, you know, I'm furnishing, because I do like to mention where things are from and, you know, my thought process and whatnot. But yeah, I will mention the individual storylines as we move on into their rooms. But currently you can see I'm just focusing on this little study office nook. I really like this room in the end, and do you know what I added to make it feel a little bit more homey and wholesome? And it's going to sound really weird to some people, and it's going to also sound a bit controversial to some other people, but I added in on My First Pet Stuff. I know it's not a fan favourite, I definitely know that one, but I added in a hamster cage. Why don't I ever use them? Actually, no, I do know why I never use them. It's because they're very controversial, like the Star Wars Journey to Batuu pack. And often in my builds, I make a conscious effort not to use anything from that pack. Sometimes I might use My First Pet Stuff blinds, because in all fairness, the stuff pack comes from really good blinds. But I never seem to use a hamster cage. And I was thinking back to when I was younger, I had a hamster and I just kept it in my downstairs dining room. I don't know if anyone had or has a hamster, but when they go on the wheel of an evening time, because obviously they're awake at the night, it can get so loud. And so I used to keep one in like my family dining room, and adding one into that little study just made it feel, I don't know, it just made it feel a little bit more wholesome, and it made me really happy. And it's probably going to be the child of this household, it's probably going to be their hamster. And to be honest, they probably keep it downstairs for the same reason that I kept mine downstairs, just because of a night time, them on the wheel just absolute terrifying noise. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the spare bedroom. Like I said, you can make this into a grandparent's bedroom, or you can make it possibly into a butler's quarter, but I just kind of imagine that it's going to be a spare room in the household. I didn't really have anything in mind that I could have made this room into, because normally I would make it into like a little bit of a library or a piano room, but I didn't imagine that any of the Sims would be playing like the piano or anything. The only Sim that I imagine that would be playing a musical instrument would be the child, but again, I'll talk about them when I move on. I'll start furnishing their bedroom. But that room was basically just like a spare bedroom in the house. Now, as you can see, I've moved on to kind of like the back porch entrance, so that door goes out into the back garden, and it's the only way to get out of the back garden unless you go around the front of the house and then you walk around like the side gate. But as you can see, I'm just playing around with the tool mod, and I'm basically trying to create like a little shelving unit for your Sims to put their shoes on. I really wish we had like individual wellies or just individual shoes. Currently we only have shoe clutter from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and it's like 2 pairs of shoes put together. I really wish that one day we could get some, like individual pairs of shoes, maybe like an individual pair of slippers or flip-flops. Just imagine, right, in the back garden, you've got your swimming pool, you've got your sun lounger, and then you can have just a little piece of flip-flop clutter on the floor. I'd absolutely love that. But I just basically use the tool mod with these shelves to kind of like rotate them and make it look like one whole thing. Also, actually, whilst we're on the subject of it, I do want to mention before I forget that I've had some comments recently about people asking whether you need the tool mod to download my builds, and the answer simply is no. If I use the tool mod or the Better Build Buy mod in any of my builds, you don't need them to download it. So say for instance, if you're a console player, you're not required to have the tool mod, so you can still download them. They'll look exactly how they look right now as you're seeing them. Nothing will change. It just helps you build better, but they're not required to have in your game to download houses that use the Better Build Buy or the tool mod. But I do just want to mention that because I've had some questions about it recently. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the lounge room. This lounge room just looks so family orientated, so cozy. I would personally love to sit on that sofa on like a Friday or Saturday night, get a bag of popcorn and just binge watch like a TV series, have a little fire on. Honestly, I think I might move my new legacy family that I've just started. Eventually I might move them into this house because I just love it so much. And like I said, it's one of my favourite interiors I've ever done. Something that I really like about this little section of the house as well is I changed the archways that I was originally using. The ones that I normally use are just some plain old base game ones, but I noticed in the catalogue that the front door that I've used, which is actually the same door that I used in the back door, so you know the cats and dogs door that was just cluttering up some shoe clutter by, well, that door looks very similar to an archway that we got from the industrial loft kit. And I paired them next to each other, and honestly they look like they were from like the same collection of door and archway places. I don't know, I've never had to go and buy a door, but I feel like if you was to walk into a showroom and you were looking for doors and archways, them two would be put together, and I've never noticed it until I did this build. And so I used that archway going into like the lounge family room, and then also now going into the kids' playroom, which I don't think I mentioned that this house has a playroom, but you can see that this house has a playroom. Now, I did place a fireplace into like a kids' room, which if you think about it, probably wasn't the smartest idea, but I always like there to be exterior chimneys, and I always like it to be often where a fireplace is on the inside. I must admit I didn't do it for where the fireplace is in the lounge room. There is no exterior chimney for it, but let's just pretend that it like somehow goes through the walls into the other chimney. But basically I wanted there to be a fireplace there because there was a chimney on the exterior, and I thought it would be really weird if there was a chimney on the exterior but there was no fireplace in the interior. And so let's just pretend that the fireplace that I placed down into the playroom is like electric, or it doesn't work or something. It also just goes really nicely with the room. The one that I use is from Parenthood, but also in that playroom there ends up being like a little penguin table, which has, or penguin table, penguin TV on a little table, and then some little bare like armchairs, and your Sims can sit down and maybe watch a film or a TV show, or maybe some cartoons on like a Saturday morning or something. I imagine that if we had like Wii Sports or like them kind of games in The Sims, that they would be in that playroom. But there is also like a doll's house, and I'm pretty sure like a science table. Pretty much every kind of children activity but the void crotter station is in this house somewhere. And I only didn't add the void crotter station because there wasn't really enough space in the children's bedrooms, and to be honest, I didn't feel like the child of the household would be someone that likes playing void crotters. But honestly, if you wanted to add a void crotter station, it would take a matter of 2 seconds, and then you've instantly got every single type of activity that children can do within this house somewhere. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking back to what I'm doing right now. So as you would have seen, I quickly just did the downstairs bathroom. So the downstairs bathroom only has a toilet, sink, and then a washing machine and a tumble dryer, and then like a hoover and whatnot. It's basically like a utility room but with a toilet and a sink in. So if you was to have someone stay in the bedroom downstairs, they would have to travel upstairs to go and use a shower and the bath. But I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. If you wanted to be honest, you could just switch up the placement of the washing machine and the tumble dryer, place them where the hoover is, or the vacuum, you know what I mean, and then just put a shower in there, and then you've got everything that you would need in the downstairs bathroom anyway. But I wasn't too fussed about it not having a shower. I could have easily added one in, but like I said, I don't imagine that anyone lives or like sleeps in that room down there. I imagine that it's just purely a guest bedroom. But as you would have seen, I just did one of the bathrooms upstairs. The one that you see me furnish is the one for the teenager in the household. So you might have noticed it was a little bit messier than your average bathroom. It had like hair dryers on the sink. It also had like makeup, eyeshadow palettes and whatnot. I just love doing them little realistic details, because to me, if a teenager was going to have their own ensuite, you know, if they're lucky enough, not everything is going to have its place, let's be honest. You know, there's going to be lipsticks left on the sink, there's going to be mascara that's probably gonna dry out because they probably forgot to put the lid on, and it's going to be a little bit more messy than, you know, like the parents' bathrooms, which by the way I want to mention, the rest of the bathrooms are organised, they are not messy, and they, you know, your standard bathrooms. But for the teenagers' bathroom, I just wanted to, you know, clutter it up and just add a few more realistic pieces. But anyway, as you would have seen, I've already done the toddler's room, which was kind of like a light pastel yellow theme, and then the wallpaper that I used was basically plain white, but it had these small little dainty light blue flowers. Honestly, the most adorable room. But now, as you can see, I'm just going around and finishing up the child's room. I really like the idea that I've got for the child of this household. So basically, I just imagine them to be a really, you know, like a goody two-shoes. They're just a really pleasant sim to be around. They're always getting good grades, but they might be a little bit of a teacher's pet. So you might have noticed that I placed down above their desk the Parenthood little whiteboard thing. It's basically something that your sims can interact with and, you know, like leave notes with one another and set curfews on and whatnot. I don't feel like you're probably going to be able to use it. Currently, I haven't play tested this build because I know that the wind, basically getting back to the weather, I know that the wind's going to be even heavier where I am later on, and so I wanted to do the voiceover earlier rather than later. But like always, I will definitely play test every single aspect of the build before I upload it to the gallery. Like all of my builds, if you are curious, everything that I upload onto the gallery has been play tested and it works fine. So if you ever download anything from me, just know that I play tested it and I know that it works. But basically, I don't imagine that whiteboard thing I placed above their desk is going to work. I more so did it because I imagine that the child is in so many different clubs and after school activities that they need to kind of like organise their life, and also imagine that they have like a journal that they write in, so I placed one of them down onto their desk. They're going to just be a really active member of their school, and I imagine that goes hand in hand with the mother of this household as being someone that always participates in, you know, the bake sales and the charity events and whatnot. I imagine that them two are probably like the best of friends. They probably have like shopping dates where they go shopping with one another every few weeks and stuff. I just really like the idea for the child in this household. I also imagine, before I forget, that they're going to be musically inclined. So you might have noticed that in their bedroom I placed down a little tiny violin. I can't remember what trailer it was, but it was one of the previous Sims 2 trailers, I believe it is. But there is always this bit that sticks into my mind whenever I look at a violin in the game, and I don't know if anyone else is going to get this reference, but in one of the previous Sims 2 trailers, it shows a child picking up a violin, and then you see the child playing the violin from when they're a child through when they're a teenager to when they're like a young adult, and then when they're an elder. I can't remember what trailer it's from, but that's always stuck in my mind, and that's what I was imagining was probably going to happen for the child in this household. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on to the parents' bedroom, but quickly, I just want to talk about the teenager and the teenager's personality. To be honest, there's not too much to it. The only thing that I could really see for them was that they wanted to one day grow up and become a singer. So you might have noticed in their bedroom, I placed down a big like stand-in full-length mirror, and then I place down a microphone in front of it. I imagine that of an evening time after school, they come home and they're just instantly standing in front of the mirror and like pretending to be Beyonce at like the Super Bowl or something. They want to one day grow up and become a, you know, like a record-selling, platinum, award-winning, just really good all-round musical artist. And that was just kind of what I imagined for this family. But anyway, now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved back to the outside of the house and I've started furnishing the tree house, even though it's not really a tree house because it's not a tree, but basically a tree house kind of area, if you know what I mean. So in here I use the Dream Home Decorator tent. Now every single time I've used that tent in any of my builds before in the past, I've always had to size it down because it's too big for the room, but it was a perfect place to put it into this little, I don't know what to refer to it as, like play tent, play area. I'm going to call it a play area. But also you might notice that there is a Don't Wake the Llama right in front of the big industrial loft kit window, which might be a bit of a bold choice for like a playhouse, but maybe this Sims family decided to splurge on the windows for it because it doesn't really make too much sense, but I liked the way it looked, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go with it. But also in this room there is that little activity table in the middle. Don't know what it's called, but it's from the Parenthood game pack. I don't think I've ever used it in a build, apart from maybe once upon a time when I did a base game and Parenthood only build, which was like 2-3 years ago. I might have used it then, but apart from that, I haven't actually used it in my own personal gameplay, so I don't actually know what it does. But now you can see that I'm going back to like the exterior garden area and I'm just playing around with it and adding some more things. I added in the toddler slide, which we got from the Toddler Stuff pack. I was debating adding in the little toddler not paddling pool, the toddler like ball pit, which actually thinking about it, I didn't add in the toddler paddling pool, but if you wanted to, you can see that there's plenty enough space for you to add one in if you do want to add one. I might add one in actually before I take the screenshots, so there is one for the toddler in this household. And I also need to add in a high chair downstairs because I forgot to add one. But besides the point, I was debating adding in the little toddler ball pit, the thing that we got from the Toddler Stuff pack. And I don't think I've ever used that in a build. It's because when it first came out, I don't know if anyone remembers, but there was like a mesh problem and it was horrendous. Like the object in game looked so terrible and they quickly fixed it, and to be honest, even now it's not the best looking item, so that's probably the reason why I've never used it. But you can see that I'm just going around and just making some final touches to the garden. I really wasn't happy with the way that I originally did the terrain paint, and I just didn't want to play around with it too much at the start of the video because it was kind of like delaying me getting in, like furnishing the house. And sometimes I find that if I come back later on, I end up preferring the later on version. But anyway, as you can see, I'm just playing around the slide again and just making it so it's a little bit shorter, playing around like a little sandpit area, so you know your Sims should be able to make some sand castles and play in the sand. I also placed down a debug, a little like bucket and like, what's it called, shovel, so like the toddler can play with it and whatnot. But yeah, anyway guys, that is basically it for this video. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedboarding video. Bye guys.